Hi everybody, today we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A session and the last question is to do with the current supply situation, so we'll give you a bit of an update on that as well as part of the Q&A session. So as always, let's get straight into it. So Ken has asked about running the radio off the auxiliary batteries. I'm not sure what age of vehicle you've got, Ken. So basically with the California, with the current model year California, so 2021 model year and above, or on the 6.1 actually I should say, from there, the radio will actually work off the auxiliary batteries. So what that does is when the engine's off, you can carry on using the stereo, and that obviously then is having a separate feed, so it's not running down your main battery. But obviously if you've got an older version, so if you've got a 6 or 5 California from there as well, that doesn't have the facility to do that. But what you will find on those radios, for example, if you are using them, you will then at some point get a button that, or flash up on the screen, so battery low. The stereo will automatically turn itself off. And I've said this before a long time on a video, maybe we'll have to do another video on radios at some point, but if you turn it back on again, you've got a good chance of actually draining your battery with that, unfortunately. But I said if you've got the newer models now, they've integrated that in. So thanks for that question, Ken. So Henlo's asked about the length of the van roof to do with kayaks. So what we've done is I've measured the actual, so this is the lid effectively on top of the California, so it's about 2.7 metres in total length, and that's the plastic top of it itself. Obviously you've got a bit more on the front with the aero, which goes on there as well, but I've literally just measured the actual top itself. It's about 2.7 metres, so hope that helps and you can have a look at for your surfboards and things like that that's going on, kayaks on the top. Next question was from Martin. He's asked about the California badge on the back of the vehicle, because I think yours has arrived without one. So general rule is that the Californias do all come with a badge on the back that says California in chrome, and it should be on the left hand side of the tailgate on the back. But saying that, if your vehicle arrives and it hasn't got a California badge on the back and it's a new vehicle, there's a good chance it may have just left the factory without actually having the badge on there. So as you can imagine, all the vehicles are going along the production line, there's a whole load of badges and they stick the badge on. If for any reason they've got no badge, obviously that goes as something missing. The production line just keeps on going, and the idea being that obviously then at some point then would have a badge put on there as well. Badges and things like that, if they're available, we can order them. So vehicles that have arrived in the past with us and haven't had a badge on, for example, we would just go and order a badge from our parts department and stick it onto the back of the vehicle that's there as well. Obviously if it's a used vehicle maybe you bought, Martin, we know lots of customers actually take the badges off the back. We've been asked to remove the badges. They're only stuck on with glue, like a padded glue that's around them as well, so we've taken the badges off for people in the past because some people don't like to have any badges on the back at all. Get that quite a lot actually with 4Motion, believe it or not. On the back of the van, people don't want people knowing that it's a 4Motion, and they've asked us to remove the 4Motion badge on the back of the tailgate and the one on the front as well, because one in the grille actually just clips out, so that can come out the front grille as well. So that's there. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Martin. So if you want one on the back, there's obviously it's something that can be got for you and can get stuck on. A bit of a tricky thing to get it in the right place, but with a bit of time and patience, it's fairly easy to get it put on. Trevor has a question about the batteries. If the batteries go dead, how do you open the door? I'm not sure which particular vehicle you've got, Trevor, from those as well, but on the current California, obviously on the driver's door there is a key slot there, so you can put the key in, obviously turn it. That won't open the central locking if the battery's dead, but it will open that particular door. And then obviously from there then you'll be able to get access to the bonnet catch to open the bonnet, because that's a manual release as well. And then obviously that would open then and allow you to go around the front, open the bonnet and charge the battery. At that point then, once the vehicle is charged and it's got, you'll find as soon as you put a charge on it, the alarm for example might go off, and then you can just blip it with your key fob that's on there as well. Now some older vehicles, and if I remember right, just going back, I can't remember the age of which they had them in there, and they do change it every so often on productions as well, but if you've got a vehicle on the driver or passenger door, you'll find on the passenger one, for example, on the current California, there's no key that's in there as well. There's just it's a nice plastic bit that's over the top of it. But most of the time on those, when you've got them on the driver and passenger side of the door as well, in actual fact there's a little hole just underneath those as well, and those plastic bits actually do pop off to show you that there is actually a key underneath that door to actually put a key in. So if you've got a vehicle with a driver's door, for example, which has no visible key that you can actually put in there, you'll probably find that next to the handle that you pull out next to it, the cap that's there, will actually come off, and you'll find there's a keyhole underneath that as well, which would then give you access to the vehicle. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please give us another comment, and we'll relook at it again on our next Q&A session. So Pedro's asked a really good question about nose weight. I've covered this a few times, so this is on tow bars we're talking about now. And I think the last we did a tow bar one not very long ago, I don't think I actually mentioned what the weight was for the nose weight. So obviously with the tow bar, the force is being pulled this way effectively. So your vehicle, you're pulling a vehicle along the road and it's pulling it, and it gives you that kind of for motion going this way. You're pulling it effectively that's on there. And that's where the majority of the strength is involved in a tow bar, whether it's a fixed or detachable. That's there as well. But obviously you've also got a force which is going down on the tow bar depending on what you're actually loading the tow bar with. So if it's a trailer, a caravan, something like that, most of that weight is distributed over the wheels on that particular vehicle. So if you can imagine my arm is a vehicle, for example, that's on there, and your wheels are in your middle. The wheels are balancing. This is very simplistic, so I do apologise to you out there, but your wheels are balancing the weight over those. But obviously there is still a weight on this actual nose which is connected to the vehicle. Now on the Transporter, on the California, that is 100 kg as the maximum nose weight, so 100 kilograms. You can have a downward force, and that's important for things like bike racks. So if you're putting a bike rack, for example, on the end of it, that is having a downward force. So you've got the actual bike rack itself, you've got to consider what's the weight of that particular bike rack, and then you need the weight of the actual bikes which is going on it as well, and that gives you your nose weight, and that's a direct downward nose weight actually on the nose. So you do need a bit of a bike rack's a prime example. You need a little bit of leverage as well, because you've got a span which increases that load obviously, so you've got things that are not 100% over it as well. That's there, but the maximum permissible nose weight is 100 kg. So I hope that answers your question, Pedro. Tim's asked a question about the bike rack and reversing sensors that's there. So, and again, I'll give you an answer for both bike racks that's here. So if you've got the Volkswagen bike rack that's on the actual tailgate itself, your parking sensors work as normal because they're low down. But the thing to bear in mind is obviously those parking sensors, the bleep is giving you a bleep of where it's actually attaches something to, or something is coming forward. With your bike rack, obviously your bike rack will be down, so the edge of the bike rack will be a lot further away from the vehicle than it is, and you do need to obviously just bear that in mind. But that's kind of the same thing if you're reversing and something is sticking out. And obviously low down, for example, you've got plenty of leeway that's on the sensors, but something at window height is sticking out, for example. Those are things you just need to be a little bit wary of when you're reversing that's in there, but they do work as they should do. Now if you've got a bike rack on the tow bar, for example, that's slightly differently, because what happens there is that you plug that bike rack in to give you your lights on the back that's there, and that obviously then deactivates the parking sensors on the back because you've got this huge bike rack on the back instead. So obviously then you won't get a constant tone or anything like that that's with them as well. But that's worked off, and it's got a sensor, so it knows if you're plugged into the actual socket on the tow bar, and it works off from there. Mary's asked a really good question, and I'm going to apologise now, Mary, because I'm not going to answer it, but there's a reason for that. It's because we're going to do a completely separate video on it, because Mary's asked about how you change the filter on the gas system on the Grand California, and I think that's a really good thing. It's not something we've covered. We haven't done anything on Grand California for a little while actually, so it'd be nice to get back in that vehicle and do a video on that. So we're going to do that very shortly. We'll have a look. We'll show you the mechanics of actually how you change that gas filter that's on there as well, and what you get with the vehicle when it comes through. So keep watching, Mary, and we'll get that video be posted. And then finally, I've had a couple of questions reference, are the factories closed? The simple answer to this is yes. Some of the Volkswagen factories are currently closed. This isn't any secret information or anything like that. You can go on the internet and there's news on factories being closed around the Volkswagen group. I'm sure it's probably the case for other manufacturers as well. And this is to do with parts. We've had this semiconductor part shortages, I'm sure you've heard of in the press. Has been going on for some time now. And unfortunately the terrible things which are happening in Ukraine are also having an effect as well on car production. Volkswagen do source car parts and things from Ukraine, and as you can imagine, because of what's happening there, unfortunately, those things are not causing disruption to the supply chain. Obviously, that's secondary to what's happening in Ukraine itself. So, we hope that will be resolved as soon as possible. That, and obviously the semiconductor and the general shortage of parts and things like that is having an effect on the Volkswagen factories. So if you go online, you'll see that cases. Some of the factories are closed, and that is for a set period of time. Obviously, it will depend on how things progress on there when it opens up again as well. But those are things that factories do shut down every now and again from time to time for different reasons. They usually shut down in the summer months when they do a retool and they get ready for the next model year. There's been shutdowns previously when we had the COVID pandemic as well. And obviously that does stop production, and production then can't be made during those shutdowns for whatever reason they are for. I know with our friends within the Volkswagen car world, they've been experiencing lately some of their factories have been closing, again because of a shortage of parts and things like that. Unfortunately, it's not great if you've got a vehicle on order. I do appreciate that this might be delaying your vehicles again even further, but I'm sure most of you will agree there's other things and probably more important things going on in the world than if there's a bit of a delay on that thing. I think most people will probably think, well, that's fair enough. I hope you would anyway, and I'm sure people would understand. So thanks for watching today. I hope that's given you lots of information, and we'll see you next time.